Hello everyone, Tom with Capo Fetish. Today we're going to continue with our Unsung album series. Today we're going to feature the pivotal year in rock and roll, 1966. An absolute revolutionary year for incredible albums. Pet Sounds, Revolver, Blonde on Blonde, Face to Face, etc. Today though we're going to feature the more, should we say, lesser known or albums that aren't really discussed much in this day and age. We're talking about 1966. So today I'm going to feature, first album I'm going to feature is a group that produced 4 full-length albums, 2 soundtracks, and 7 top 10 consecutive singles in 2 years' time. 2 years' time, an amazing feat. And they broke up, I think, around 68. So anyway, let's give it up here for the Love and Spoonful, their second album, Daydream. Just a bona fide folk rock classic featuring elements of bluegrass. We've got jug band music, we've got pop, we've got rock and roll, we've got incredible songwriting from John Sebastian. He's also a really great singer too, really earthy. So along with the title track Daydream, which was a hit single, I think a number 2 or a number 1. You also have You Didn't Have to Be So Nice, just a great, great pop song on there. We also have jug band music. We also have just an array of great album cuts, such as Didn't Want to Have to Do It, which I think is one of John Sebastian's greatest songs. Just, you listen to that song now, it sounds so timeless. I mean, it just has transcended decades, you know? Then you have some kind of silly songs like Bald-Headed Lena. You've got some rock and roll on here, like Let the Boy Rock and Roll. You got a great song called There She Is. A really great tune called Butchie's Tune, sung by Joe Butler, which I believe was the flip side of Summer in the City. But yeah, I will always hold this band in high regard. It was one of the first bands I was ever introduced to as a child. This is probably one of the first albums I ever bought used when I was about 5 years old, 6 years old. And I think it's just incredible. The same year, they also released Hums of the Love and Spoonful later in the year, which is another just classic album full of great songs and great album cuts. So Daydream by the Love and Spoonful. Another great one too is the debut from Small Faces. What a banger this album is. Never really went anywhere here in America. They didn't really get any recognition until Itchycoo Park in 67, but this came out in 66. Features a lot of great songs. Shake, Come On Children, You Better Believe It, What You Gonna Do About It, which was kind of a hit there in England. We also have Sorry She's Mine. It's just, it has the energy of The Who, but you even have an incredible vocalist. I think even more of a better vocalist than Roger Daltrey at this point in time, which is Steve Marriott. He came out of the gate just on fire on this album, and he really carries a lot of these tunes. Of course, you got Kenny Jones on drums, you got Ian on organ, and you've got Ronnie Lane. Just an incredible 4-piece band from the British Invasion. And this is their first album, the UK version of just Small Faces. Just an incredible rock and roll record. Incredible stuff. Now, when it comes to good folk, British folk music, I am a big fan of Bert Jansch, and I love this album with John Redbourne. It was originally titled Bert and John, but it was released about 3 years later in America as Stepping Stones with a couple of extra bonus cuts. The album by Bert Jansch, John Redbourne, Stepping Stones on the Vanguard label. This is such a great folk, British folk album here. A lot of short songs on here. One of my favorites is It Don't Bother Me by Bert Jansch. A lot of other great ones on here. Easy Wind, Goodbye Pork Pie Hat, which was a Charles Mingus tune. Jazz artist Charles Mingus. You've got My Lover, another Bert Jansch original. Just a flawless album of British folk from 1966. Stepping Stones by Bert Jansch and John Redbourne. And 1966 also brought out another great debut, the debut from Love. Arthur Lee, the leader. Incredible stuff here. Love doesn't really sound like anybody. It came out of LA. They were kind of in a folk rock mode on this first album here, taking a lot of influence from the Byrds. You do have some they do step out of the box a little bit. You have My Little Red Book, which is written by Burt Bacharach. They do it their own way. They kind of pretty much rewrite that whole tune. Great single. Can't Explain is really cool. A lot of these tunes kind of have the same kind of Byrdsy quality, but a really good song that kind of foreshadows good things to come on the next album to Capo. It's a song called Sign DC, a great song. talking about the just heroin addiction and its seriousness. And you've got Colored Balls Falling. They do a version of Hey Joe, but I still think the best version of Hey Joe is by The Leaves, as far as the fast versions go. You'll Be Following, No Matter What You Do is cool. There's a few, it's about 3 songs or so that are kind of iffy. They don't stand up to the rest of the album, but it's a great, fine debut. And they would only get better with subsequent albums like Da Capo, Forever Changes, For Sale. Great, great stuff here. Debut from Love on Elektra labels. I think this was Jack Holzman's, one of his first signings, too, of a rock band on the Elektra label. So, now when it comes to the Animals, they were an incredible singles band. I think they were more of a singles band than an albums band, but this album right here has a lot of great moments on it. Animalization. It features Don't Bring Me Down, which I think is one of their great hits. Also has Inside Looking Out. I think even Grand Funk did a cover of that, I believe, on the Red album. CC Rider, they do a great version of that, which is on here. I Put a Spell on You is on here. Sweet Little 16, You're on My Mind, Cheating. Of all the Animals albums I've listened to, this one seems to be the most consistent in tone and everything. And not long after this, they would change to a completely different band with a completely new sound as they went psychedelicized in 67. But this is a great album from 66, Animalization by the Animals. Another great one, too, is Simon & Garfunkel's Sounds of Silence. Really, really solid album here. Featuring, of course, the hit Sounds of Silence. And also you have a great song here played solely by Paul Simon called Angie, which was written by Davy Graham, another great British folk guitarist. April Come She Will, I Am a Rock, another great single, one of their great mid-60s singles. Blessed, Leaves That Are Green, Kathy's Song, beautiful song. Just a really, really great folk rock album here from 66 from Simon & Garfunkel, Sounds of Silence. I'm a huge fan of early Who. I think they're, for me, my taste, the Who in the 60s were the greatest. By the 70s, I like their 70s stuff, but I think their 60s stuff really showed what they were really about. The anger, the passion, just that, if you watch Kids Are All Right, and you watch that footage of them in like 65, 66, 67, that is just some of the greatest footage of a band in its prime. And I really think their second album is really underrated. Happy Jack, as it was called in America. A Quick One is what it was called in Britain. But my only complaint about this album is just the production. The production is really pretty lousy. It's very tinty, very trebly, very brash sounding. All you really hear a lot is a lot of cymbals, but it doesn't take away completely from the songs. There's some amazing songs on here. First off, Run, Run, Run. That song just absolutely rocks. Starts the album off on a good note. Boris the Spider by John Entwistle, another classic. You have I Need You. The whole first side is amazing. I Need You is great. Whiskey Man, another great John Entwistle tune. You've got also Happy Jack. Great, great single from 66. Then on the second side, you have So Sad About Us, which even the Jam covered back in the 80s. Then it ends with A Quick One While He's Away. And though I'm not really too fond of this particular version, the version that really is a definitive version of A Quick One While He's Away for me is the version on Rock and Roll Circus, the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus. It's so perfect. It rocks. And you should if you haven't seen that clip, pull it up on YouTube where they're playing that song. It's just full of passion. And this one is just a little more subdued. And you could tell like there's a lot of splicing and editing in it. But I don't know. I think this is prime Who right here. This along with The Who Sellout are two of my favorite Who albums. So Happy Jack, also known as A Quick One from The Who. Another great album. I've shown this album quite a few times. I'm a big fan of Tim Harden. Tim Harden's first album. It's just chock full of just great songs. You've got Reason to Believe, which was covered by Rod Stewart, which was the flip side of Maggie May, which was on Every Picture Tells a Story. You also have Don't Make Promises, Smuggling Man, It'll Never Happen Again, Misty Roses, How Can We Hang On to a Dream? All these songs are like 2 minutes long. This is probably one of the shortest folk albums ever made here. Yeah, just really, really great songwriting here from a really tragic figure. Tim Harden won. You never heard it, check it out. It's fantastic. And then I've always been a big fan of the Blue Note Jazz label. I think just some of those albums that came out in the 60s on the Blue Note label are just amazing. Wayne Shorter, you name it. Horace Silver. I really love this album here from 66. Jazz guitarist Grant Green. It's called I Want to Hold Your Hand. Named after the Beatles song. He does his own version. Really, really unique. It's really even hard to make out that it's the same song, but he does it in his own way, and it's just really, really amazing. The whole album is just a great, great jazz listening experience. Highly recommended if you've never heard it. If you've never heard Grant Green, check some of his stuff out. This is one of his great albums, and this is from 66. So another great one is first Seeds album, great garage rock classic here. It has Pushing Too Hard on it and Can't Seem to Make You Mine. A lot of other cool tunes on here. Good old Sky Saxon, the leader. Fallen in Love, It's a Hard Life, Nobody Spoil My Fun, No Escape. Just that great, great garage sound from 66. The Seeds, titled The Seeds. Another great debut album from 1966 is the first Buffalo Springfield album. Totally sounds different than Again and Last Time Around. This is really probably what they sounded like in the early days, playing at the Whiskey. Very raw sounding. Production isn't that great, but which holds it together are the amazing songs. You got songs by Neil Young on here, Stephen Stills. I don't think Richie Furay was actually writing at this point. But some of my absolute favorite Buffalo Springfield songs are on here. The great Neil Young song, Flying on the Ground is Wrong. You've got Stephen Stills, Do I Have to Come Right Out and Say It? You've got Sit Down, I Think I Love You, which was a big hit for the Mojo Men. I believe it was Mojo Men. Correct me if I'm wrong. Go and Say Goodbye, which later Poco covered on A Good Feeling to Know, that album. Of course, For What It's Worth is on here as well. That was the big hit. And was later added to the album after it was a big hit. It was initially on the first pressing. Sit Down, I Think I Love You. Nowadays, Clancy Can't Even Sing. One of the first songs that they got from Neil Young and recorded. The only song on here Neil Young sings is Burned. That's a great song. And then Out of My Mind features some great harmonies between Neil, Stephen, and Richie. So yeah, Buffalo Springfield, I'm a huge fan. Love this first album. And then last but not least, a great blues album from the Butterfield Blues Band. Album is called East West. Some great playing by Mike Bloomfield all over this record here. You've got an interesting cover of Mary Mary the Monkees did on their second album. Got some great stuff on here like Walkin' Blues, Get Out of My Life Woman, I Got a Mind to Give Up Living, All These Blues, and it ends with a title track, just this 13-minute blues vamp. Title track, East West. Great, great album. Nobody really talks about this much anymore, so there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Those are some unsung albums from 1966. As always, thanks for watching. Press subscribe. We'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.